Hi, I'm Katie Flanagan, and my daughter, Molly Flanagan, is an ICU nurse at Fairfax Hospital. And she told us today of a critical need the nurses have for surgical caps. And they have been trying to buy them and also purchase them on Etsy and have been unable to do that because of the supply. So she asked if we could make some surgical masks for the nurses. The nurses are willing to pay for, pay for them, but I think we, as a community, would really be happy to donate those. So we have a pattern that we've found, which is free, that can be downloaded. It's called the Buffon surgical cap. It's available from a website which is called Doodabug.com. You can download it and print it. One thing that's very important is that you print it at 100% scale. Here's a pattern piece that's been put together for the cap, and you'll notice it's in 1, 2, 3 pieces, and the distance from here to here should measure 17 inches. And the way to do that is when you print it, go into print it, make sure you check on scale, and sometimes it's clicked to fit to page. So instead of doing fit to page, do custom and print at 100%, and then you should be able to come up with the 5 pages. The first 2 are these 2 pages. This little tiny piece at the top is found on the 3rd page with this final page, final piece, which is the Buffon surgical cap. So once you get your pattern, I find it very easy just to put it onto a large cutting mat and use my rotary cutter, but however you want to cut it out, get it cut out. But I wanted to tell you some of the steps that I've taken as I've made them to make it easier. The first is, just a second, put my things down. Okay, this is what they look like when they get them done. Almost looks like a little baker's cap, but the elastic in the back helps it fit tightly. But you're going to have 2 pieces. You'll have the body of the cap, and you'll have the brim of the cap. And the first thing I did was press under 1/4 inch, and then press again a little more than 1/4 inch. Sewed the casing shut like that, and then I inserted the elastic. And the easiest way I find to do that is to just take my 1/4 inch elastic, and I mark a 6-inch increment with a pen, and I've done it several times, as you can see. And then you just put that on a little safety pin, or I like these tiny safety pins, especially when they're tiny. Put it on the end, and then you thread it through the casing like this. Just thread it through. This one I've already done. And when you get to your mark at the end, like this, I just pull it tight and stitch a few stitches over this, and then cut that right at the mark, and then continue going through, pulling it up. And then when you get to the end, take your safety pin off. It's not too tight, it won't pull back through, and sew a couple of stitches, and then you'll have your piece that looks like this. Then the second thing I do is to run 2 sets of gathering stitches. On her video, she talks about doing pleats, but I found the gathering stitches to be much easier. I've marked the center back here just for my own reference. So you'll have 2 gathering, and I did one at 1/8 and one at about 3/8 of an inch to do the gathers. So then your brim, what I've done with the brim is I had iron-on interfacing, and I interfaced the entire thing and put a crease in the center front like this, marked my center front, and then I turned under 3/8 of an inch. So that's what I did for that. Then the next step that I did, and I should have done these gathers, was just to gather it up mark your center fronts and put wrong sides together and stitch. Put your gathers, stitch it to your facing. It'll be like this, and get that all gathered. Then after that's done, then you would turn your brim to the right side and then top stitch. Get it all smooth. You might need to pin it, but you'll top stitch right along the first edge, right here. And then I did a second top stitch just to make everything secure. Then the final thing that you'll do is I did a French seam on this little tiny seam that's right here on the pattern. It is, where did I put my pattern? It's this seam that you're going to make. It's going to go like this, like that together. And I put wrong sides together again, stitched about 1/8 of an inch down, just essentially during a little French seam, and it will enclose the brim and all the seam and make it really neat. And then flip it over so that your right sides are together after that, and you're stitch another about 1/4 of an inch seam on that, and then you've got a nice neat little enclosed edge like this on the inside of the cap. This is my first one. I made a bunch of mistakes, so anyway, and then that's all there is to it. And then what the nurses will do and how they wear this, they're trying to get all their hair in. They put it over the top of their head, pull it down, and tuck everything in so they can have everything enclosed like that. So, and pull it down, and the elastic helps to hold it real tight against their, or they can put it up over their ears. I'm not sure exactly how they're all going to wear them, but they're pretty tight so that they can get all their hair up in here, as well as there. So it protects their hair, and then they can also fit disposable ones over the top when they go into isolation rooms. Anyway, well, thank you. If you have any questions, you can contact probably my daughter Becky. She's in the area, or someone else who needs sewing, or you can contact me. Anyway, good luck, and thank you for doing this to help the nurses at Fairfax Hospital.